Episode 43, the 911 Show. Safety is no accident, so today we get our ducks in a row and get prepared for anything. And you are listening to episode number 43 of Mike Murphy Unplugged. Learn, create, move forward. I am your host, Mike Murphy. I'm a one-man band, I'm a technology junkie, and I love helping people figure things out. And I am really excited to be here with you today. The goal of Mike Murphy Unplugged is to help you learn what you need to know in order to create online content so you can move forward in business and in life. And in this episode number 43, I have 5 ways for you to prepare yourself and your business for unexpected events or even emergencies. Failing to plan is planning to fail, so today we put together the framework for an emergency toolkit. It's not always fun to think about, but oh so handy when you need it. But first, let's start the show with a question of the week from Ask Mike Anything. For those of you just tuning into the show for the first time, Ask Mike Anything is your chance to ask me what you want to know more about. Where are you struggling in your online business? Head on over to mikemurphy.co. Leave me a question and I will answer it in a future episode. Today's Ask Mike Anything. Is there a way to tell if someone that you are following on Snapchat is following you back? Well, the answer is yes. For those of you not using Snapchat yet, you can add friends in a number of different ways, and when you add someone as your friend, the other person will get notified. You can watch other people's stories even if they don't follow you back. So, how do you know if someone you follow on Snapchat is following you back and seeing your stories? There are 2 easy ways to tell if someone is following you on Snapchat. 1, if you're watching someone's story and you see the option to flip up and chat at the bottom of the screen, then they are following you. And number 2, the second way is if you check on a person's snap code, that's the yellow profile image, and you see numbers next to their name, then they are following you. The numbers are their SnapScore, which is basically an algorithm of the number of sent and received snaps. So if you see somebody's snap score, then they are following you. And while we're on the subject, be sure to follow me on Snapchat by scanning my BOOR code, as it's also called, that I'll leave in the show notes, or add me by username Mike Murphy BTS, as in behind the scenes. I really like Snapchat, so come say hello. Okay, let's jump into episode number 43. Murphy's Law states that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Whether it's business or life, things happen when we least expect it, and the more you're ready to handle whatever curveballs get thrown in your direction, the better you will set yourself up for success. The purpose of today is not to rain on your parade if you are in the excited stage of starting an online business or podcast, but to point out some blind spots and give some tips and tools to build your own emergency toolkit. I'm going to focus on 5 areas today for you to start thinking about. Number 1, protecting your gear and security. Number 2, backup plan. Number 3, asset management or inventory. Number 4, password management. And number 5, banking. Quick downer story that I will keep brief as I really do my best to keep moving forward and don't get stuck in past events that I cannot fix or do anything about. Today's 911 episode was inspired by the fact that I had to call 911 last week when someone broke into my house while I was sleeping. Yes, not fun. I did wake up and was able to chase him out of the house before he stole anything, but like most traumatic or life-changing events, this incident made me think and realize that things happen out of our control. But there are preventative measures we can take to minimize the damage, and in most cases, the solutions are pretty simple. You just have to put them in place. So number 1 today, security. If you're a one-man band and podcaster like myself, you do it all. And that means that you need gear and equipment to produce content. As many of you know, the cost of equipment starts to add up. I work out of my home like so many other online business owners. So what can you do to protect your space and equipment? Well, for Christmas last year, my father had the foresight to realize that my computer and audio equipment was valuable, or at least important to my online world. And he bought me one of the greatest technology tools that I own today, and that is a Wi-Fi security camera. This is made by a company called Canary, like the bird. I can control it with my iPhone app, can view my house live 24/7 from anywhere in the world. It sends me a message if the temperature rises or if someone enters my home. I can view my house in real time and even sound the alarm or call 911 right from my phone. Pretty cool. And the quality of video is absolutely incredible at 1080p In my case, the Canary was able to record the guy who broke into my house in extremely clear detail, and my room was completely dark. If only my DSLR had such good low-light quality. And Canary is going to be partnering up with Apple's new Home Kit that's set to debut in iOS 10 in the fall, so stay tuned for that, as there's probably going to be some other cool security and preventive measures that Apple has in store. This week on Amazon, Canary was $166 per camera. The camera is awesome, but it made me think that outside of my cottage is dark. I live in an alley, so I did a little tech research. I discovered some battery-operated motion detector LED lights by a company called Mr. Beams. So when someone approaches my house, they are welcomed by a bright spotlight, which makes a good deterrent, and $25 a pop I think is well worth it. Okay, moving on. Your home in your one-man band studio is protected. Now let's protect your content. So number 2 is a backup plan. I am a stickler on this, yet it amazes me how many people do not have a solid backup plan in place. Anyone in technology knows it's not if a hard drive will fail, it's when. Stop and think right now. If your computer was taken from you today, would you be able to recover all of your photos and music and videos and perhaps podcast episodes? Do not wait until it's too late on this one. Here's a simple approach. Google Drive and Dropbox is free storage. External drives with Time Machine, and use a cloud backup service like Backblaze, CrashPlan, or Carbonite. So step 1, start with Google Drive and Dropbox. It's simple. Put all your documents and your small stuff that you carried around for years, like taxes, PDFs, copies of your driver's license, copies of your passport, health insurance cards. These are all 911 tips, FYI. Google gives you between 15 and 30 gigs of free storage with every single Gmail account. That's enough to store all of your documents and personal stuff, excluding the videos and photos and stuff. I have also been a longtime fan and user of Dropbox. You don't get as much free storage from Dropbox, but it's also handy to have around. I keep all my really important VIP files in Dropbox and use it for sharing large files. Step 2 is having 2 external hard drives. I use external hard drives for all of my content, including photo, videos. Everything lives on a hard drive. Also, I put my Time Machine backups, so my Mac is always backed up on one of these drives. One is a working drive, and the other is strictly a clone. Once a week, I take the drive and I just make an exact copy. That way, if one of them fails, I always have that backup. Sounds paranoid, but this is best practice for backing stuff up. You spend hours making podcasts and videos and blog posts, whatever you do, they deserve this extra bit of effort and a minimal investment to do whatever it takes to have a redundant system in place. Having the external drives is great, but what if a hurricane came through? You're not protected. Take it one step more and take everything up to the cloud. I use a service called Backblaze.com, which is excellent. It's $5 per month, and I get unlimited backup. That's unlimited. So my entire 4 terabyte drive and more, if I want to, is backed up to the cloud 24/7. I can access my content from anywhere in the world. And for $5 a month, if my computer was broke or stolen or a hurricane came through, I know that with one click of a button, I could restore my content to exactly the way it was. Caveat: restoring from the cloud does take a long time, so I would prefer to do so from an external drive, but knowing that that cloud backup there is a great feeling. So a quick little recap of the backup system, because I know that confuses a lot of people. Google Drive and Dropbox is great for the small stuff and the really important documents that you just never want to lose, you want to set and forget. Locally, I use external drives for everything. This keeps your computer running smooth, and you also have 2 copies of identical hard drives, so if one should fail, you are backed up, and it's much faster and easier to recover from an external drive than it is from the cloud backups. And finally, use a cloud-based backup service like Backblaze.com, which I really love. CrashPlan I've used, and Carbonite. These cloud-based services are surprisingly cheap. They run in the background, so there's really nothing you need to do. Okay, number 3, our home and data is protected. Now here's a simple tip that might never have crossed your mind. That is keeping a simple inventory or a list of your gear and tools and equipment. You can use Google Sheets or Evernote or whatever is easiest for you. I'm using a free iPhone app called Sortly that gives you 200 free items, and then you have to pay $7.99 for unlimited inventory. Not only is having an inventory of the tools and gear I use good for maybe insurance or expense needs, but I'm actually keeping it as a tally of the tools that I use so I can make tutorials and gear reviews. If someone asks me what kind of XLR cables I can use, right on my phone, I can hand them over my affiliate link. So not only am I getting organized, but I can make a couple bucks. It's like one big resource guide in my pocket. So keeping track of your gear, whether it's an inventory or just a big list inside of Google Docs, is something that might seem a little bit out of the ordinary, but I'm telling you, this is something that you're going to be really glad that you did. So number 4 in the 911 emergency toolkit is password management. Along with inventory, having a place for all your passwords to keep safe and accessible is a must. The tool I use is 1Password, and I've been using this for many years. I keep everything in 1Password, including credit cards, bank information, social security cards. Yep, all of it. I also keep a secure note inside of 1Password with everything that's in my wallet. All the numbers, all the phone numbers, everything I need should I ever lose my wallet. I've learned this the hard way. It's a real pain. Now I have one document with everything stored in 1Password. You can also use Google Drive or Evernote to keep stuff like this with emergency notes, which I also do. 1Password syncs to Dropbox, so I can access my passwords on any device. 1Password is just plain safe, convenient, and I never have to remember my passwords. Although my memory for song lyrics and passwords is pretty impressive. And rounding out the toolkit today with number 5 is banking. I'm getting a little tricky here, as the banking I'm referring to has 2 meanings. Meaning number 1, I do think having a rainy day emergency cash fund is a great idea, as you need to be ready if your computer or a piece of equipment breaks, as your business cannot go on without certain components. Most businesses fail because of lack of cash flow, so have a reserve is always a good idea. I know it's not always easy to do when times are tight, but make this a priority and chip away at it. A few years ago, I took the initiative and set up a Capital One account where $50 a month gets automatically deducted from my main checking account. I don't touch it. Its only purpose is for having a rainy day backup fund. Meaning number 2 for banking, we're talking podcast episodes or recording in batch. Batching podcast episodes is not easy to do and something that I've yet to successfully accomplish, but not for the lack of trying. Being reliable and consistent is the number 1 rule for podcasters, as your audience is counting on you to deliver your podcasts at the same time every day or every week or whatever your schedule is. So what happens if you get really sick or you have to go to the hospital or maybe you have to take an unexpected trip that is out of your control? Things like this happen all the time, and having a bank of podcast episodes pre-recorded can really save you in a pinch. And that concludes today's 911 episode, and I hope you all feel just a little bit safer, and more importantly that you take action to put some safeguards in place to protect yourself and your business from life's unexpected occurrences. Just to recap, protect your home, studio, workplace, wherever with a simple Wi-Fi camera like the one that I use by Canary, or consider other safety measures such as motion detector lights or simple vacation timers. Admittedly, in the past, I have always been pretty poor on locking my doors and home security in general, but it's never fun to learn the hard way, which is what I just did. Prevention is definitely worth a pound of cure. Number 2, backup. This is not an option. You have no excuse on this one. Hard drives and cloud storage are cheap. Take the time, set up a redundant backup system that you understand how it works, and more importantly, in the case of failure or emergency, you are confident that you can get everything back. Number 3 in the emergency toolkit, inventory. Use an app like Sortly or just a simple Google Doc or spreadsheet and keep track of your gear and equipment. Not only can this come in handy at tax time, but it might make a great gear review list or a resource guide. Or you may decide to sell some extra stuff that you no longer use and need to contribute to your rainy day account or go have a little fun. Number 4, password management. Lose the sticky notes and the random notebooks all over the place that have your passwords and invest in a dedicated password management app like 1Password or LastPass. And number 5 in the emergency toolkit, this is a double whammy. That is banking. Having an emergency cash fund, a just-in-case fund, and podcast batching pre-recorded episodes. Really hard to do. I'm here with you on the struggle, but man, is this a big deal. Let's work together and get these done. And as always, I do thank you and appreciate every one of you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast. May you all stay safe and prepared and give yourself the peace of mind that you deserve. If you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to discuss more about on a future episode, please drop me an email or a social media shout out if there's anything you want me to talk more about, or to just say hello. And if you haven't done so already, head on over to MikeMurphy.co and be sure to sign up for the newsletter for the latest updates and news. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you join my one-man band, and together we can learn, create, and move forward. Cheers.